The heart won't burn. 3 hours. 3 hours of flames hot enough to melt iron. And Mercy Brown's heart is still contracting on the rock. Still pulsing. Still trying to pump blood that isn't there. Dr. Harold Metcalf stands over the fire. Hands shaking, watching tissue that should have turned to ash in minutes resist like it's alive. The flames are blue around it. The air is getting colder, not warmer. And everyone, all 100 witnesses, can see the heart moving. Flexing. Like a fist clenching and unclenching. How long has it been? Someone asks. 3 hours, Metcalf says. His voice sounds dead. Behind them, the open grave, the exhumed coffin, the girl's body lying on frozen ground, chest cavity opened, ribs spread. And inside the stone crypt, that sealed vault they pried open this morning, the scratches on the iron door are still visible. Long, desperate gouges in the metal. From the inside. Doctor, William Rose says quietly. The brother? Edwin. He's asking for the medicine. Medicine, that's what they're calling it. Metcalf looks at the heart. It pulses again. Once. Twice. He reaches into the flames, bare-handed, doesn't even feel the heat, and pulls it out. It's warm against his palms. Warm like living flesh. And he feels it. One pulse. Strong, clear, like a heartbeat. Grind it, he says. All of it. Mix it with water. We're taking it to Edwin now. They grind the heart with stones. The tissue resists. Tough, fibrous, wrong. When they finally reduce it to paste and mix it with water, the liquid turns gray, thick, like concrete. Edwin Brown is upstairs in his father's farmhouse, too sick to attend, too weak to walk, dying for 5 years, but not dead. Not yet. Metcalf carries the cup up the stairs. George Brown follows, face hollow, eyes empty. Edwin sees them coming, sees the cup, and starts screaming before they even touch him. No, 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 no. Edwin, you have to drink this. I know what it is. I know what it is. It takes 3 men to hold him down, to force his jaw open, to pour the gray paste down his throat. Edwin swallows. Then he screams. Not pain. Recognition. Like something in those ashes is familiar. Like he knows exactly whose heart he just swallowed. The scream goes on for 6 minutes. Raw, animal. The sound of something breaking. Then silence. Edwin stares at the ceiling, tears streaming down his face. She's gone, he whispers. She let go, she's finally gone. These aren't just stories. They stay with you. If you crave tales that crawl under your skin, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. The darkness is only getting deeper. Watch till the end. The final detail changes everything. March 10th, 1892. 70 people packed into the church basement in Exeter, Rhode Island. They're here to talk about killing a dead girl. Nobody says it like that. Nobody uses those words. But that's what this is. William Rose stands at the front. He's 53 years old. Farmer. Known George Brown his entire life. Helped him bury his wife 9 years ago, his daughter 8 years ago, his other daughter 2 months ago. We all know what this is, Rose says. The word hangs in the air. Nobody wants to say it. Vampire. 4 members of the Brown family dead from consumption. Mary Eliza in 83, Mary Olive in 84, Mercy this January, and Edwin. Rose pauses. Edwin's been dying for 5 years. 5 years. Should have been dead years ago. He looks around the room. That's not natural. That's not how consumption works. Murmurs of agreement. And then there's Sarah Miller. A woman in the back starts crying. Sarah's mother. Healthy 17-year-old girl. Perfect health. Then one night she goes past the cemetery, and something happens. Something touches her. 3 days later, she starts coughing. 6 weeks later, his voice cracks. 6 weeks later, she's dying, coughing blood, wasting away like she's had consumption for years. That's impossible, someone says. Exactly, Rose says. It's impossible. Unless he doesn't finish. Dr. Harold Metcalf stands. He's the only educated man in the room, medical degree from Providence. Practiced for 20 years. Seen consumption kill hundreds. I've been keeping notes, Metcalf says. He pulls out a leather journal. The epidemiology doesn't match anything in medical literature. Edwin Brown's body temperature has been recorded at 94.3 degrees Fahrenheit for the past 6 weeks. That's below survivable threshold. He should be dead. He flips pages. Sarah Miller, healthy to critical in 6 weeks. The disease usually takes months, even years. Her progression is medically impossible. More page-turning. And there are the sounds from the cemetery. Multiple witnesses have reported crying, scratching. I visited the cemetery myself 3 nights ago. At midnight, I heard... He stops, swallows. I heard a woman's voice, coming from inside the crypt where Mercy Brown is stored. The room goes dead quiet. There are documented cases throughout New England. Metcalf continues. Vermont, Connecticut, Maine. When consumption moves through a family in sequence like this, when the dead appear to be active, there is a procedure. An old procedure, but it's the only thing that's ever worked. What procedure? Someone asks. Metcalf looks at George Brown, sitting in the corner, face in his hands. Exhumation, Metcalf says. We dig them up, all 3 women, Mary Eliza, Mary Olive, Mercy. We examine the bodies for signs of preservation, for fresh blood, for evidence that they're still, that they haven't fully... He can't finish. And if we find evidence, Rose asks, we remove the heart, we burn it, and we feed the ashes to the dying. They go to George Brown's farm that afternoon. 15 men, including the doctor, including the Reverend, who's been silent through all of this, clearly uncomfortable but not objecting. George sits at his kitchen table and listens to his neighbors explain that they want to dig up his wife, his daughters, open their coffins, examine their bodies, mutilate them if necessary. When they finish, George is quiet for a long time. The only sound is Edwin coughing upstairs. That wet, rattling cough that means lungs full of fluid. That means drowning on dry land. What if you don't find anything? George finally asks. Then we'll know this is natural, Metcalf says gently. Terrible, but natural. And we'll bury them again with respect. And if you do find something? Nobody answers. George stands, walks to the window, looks out at the winter fields, at Chestnut Hill Cemetery visible in the distance. 2 weeks ago, George says quietly, Edwin woke me up at 3 a.m. He was sitting at the kitchen table, dressed, boots on, even though he hasn't had the strength to leave his bed in months. He turns to face them. He said Mercy visited him, said she was standing at the foot of his bed, still in her burial dress, still wearing her mother's cameo brooch. George's voice breaks. I thought he was delirious, fever dream. But he showed me his wrist and there were marks, fingerprints, fresh bruises, like someone had grabbed him. He pulls out a piece of paper, hands it to Metcalf. It's a sketch. 4 fingertip bruises on top, 1 thumb bruise underneath. Small hands, woman's hands. He said she told him she's hungry, George whispers. That she's so cold and she can't die all the way, and something's keeping her there. Silence. If there's even a chance, George says, even the smallest possibility that something is using my family's bodies, that they're not at rest, that they're suffering, he nods. Dig them up. March 16th, 1892. Night. Dr. Metcalf sits in his study, writing in his journal by lamplight. Tomorrow we exhume the brown women. I have prepared the instruments, scalpels, bone saw, specimen jars. I am a man of science. I believe in observable phenomena, in measurable data, in rational explanation. But I have seen things these past weeks that do not fit any model I understand. I have taken Edwin Brown's temperature 6 times. It remains at 94 degrees. He should be dead. His heart should have stopped. But he lingers, suspended, like something is keeping him alive for a purpose. I have examined Sarah Miller. Her consumption has progressed from first symptom to critical stage in 6 weeks. In my 20 years of practice, I have never seen the disease move so quickly. It's as if something is accelerating it, feeding on her. And 3 nights ago, I stood at the crypt door and heard my name. Metcalf stops writing. His hand is shaking. A woman's voice. Mercy's voice. I delivered that girl 19 years ago. I watched her grow up. I know her voice. She called my name. She said, "Doctor, I'm so cold." I ran. God forgive me, I ran. He closes the journal. Tomorrow they dig. February 18th, 1892. 1 month after Mercy Brown's burial. Thomas Wheeler wakes at midnight to the sound of crying. He lives in the house closest to Chestnut Hill Cemetery. His property line runs right up against the stone wall. From his bedroom window, he can see the rows of headstones barely visible in the moonlight. And he can hear the crying. A woman's voice. High, thin, desperate. Wheeler gets out of bed. Walks to the window. The crying is coming from the direction of the crypt. That stone vault built into the hillside where they store bodies in winter. Where Mercy Brown is. The crying continues, doesn't stop, doesn't pause for breath. Just continuous, desperate weeping. Wheeler's wife wakes up. What is that? I don't know. They listen for an hour. The crying never stops. At 1 a.m., Wheeler gets dressed, takes a lantern, walks out to the cemetery. The closer he gets, the clearer the crying becomes. And he starts to hear words. Please. So cold. Let me out. Wheeler stops at the cemetery wall. The crypt is 50 feet away. Dark. Silent. But the crying is coming from inside it. He can see the iron door, sealed, locked. The crying gets louder. Please, please let me out. I'm so cold. Please. Wheeler turns and runs home. The crying continues until dawn. It happens every night. Midnight to dawn. The same crying, the same voice, the same desperate words. By the 3rd night, half the town has heard it. Some come to the cemetery. Stand at the wall, listen. It's definitely coming from the crypt. It's definitely a woman's voice. It's definitely saying words. Let me out, please. I'm so hungry. So cold. Please let me out. On the 4th night, Thomas Wheeler brings Dr. Metcalf. They stand together at the cemetery wall, lanterns in, hand listening. The crying echoes from the crypt. Clear, unmistakable. That's not wind, Wheeler says. No, Metcalf agrees. That's not imagination. No, that's a woman's voice. Metcalf doesn't answer. He's staring at the crypt door. In the lantern light, he can see something on the iron. Scratches. Long, deep gouges in the metal. Thomas, Metcalf says quietly. When was the crypt last opened? Not since they put Mercy Brown inside, a month ago. And those scratches were there before? I don't think so. Metcalf walks closer, right up to the crypt door. The scratches are fresh, recent. The metal is bright where it's been scraped away, and they're on the inside of the door. Metcalf can see where something clawed at the iron, desperately, frantically, like fingernails. The crying gets louder. Doctor. Metcalf freezes. Dr. Metcalf. His name. The voice is saying his name. Doctor, I'm so cold. Please let me out. It's Mercy's voice. He knows it's Mercy's voice. We need to leave, Metcalf says. But now. They run. Behind them, the crying continues. February 14th, 1892. 4 weeks after Mercy's burial. Edwin Brown wakes at 3 a.m. Not in his bed. He's sitting at the kitchen table. Fully dressed, boots laced. Even though he hasn't had the strength to dress himself in months. He doesn't remember getting up, doesn't remember walking down the stairs, doesn't remember putting on his clothes. But he remembers her, Mercy, standing at the foot of his bed. She looked exactly like she did at the funeral. Gray dress, white collar, their mother's cameo brooch at her throat. Her hair was perfect, arranged, clean. But she wasn't breathing. Edwin watched her chest, watched for the rise and fall of breath. Nothing. She just stood there, perfectly still, not breathing, not blinking. And her eyes were wrong, too dark, like the pupils had swallowed everything else. Mercy, Edwin whispered. She tilted her head. The movement was strange, too slow, like a doll being moved by someone else. Edwin, she said. Her voice was her voice, but also not, like there was something underneath it, something using her voice. Mercy, you're dead. I know. You're buried. I know. Then how? I'm so hungry, Edwin. She took a step closer. I'm so cold and so hungry, and I can't die all the way. Something's keeping me there, in the dark, in the cold. And I'm so hungry. Edwin tried to move. Couldn't. His body wouldn't respond. Mercy reached out. Her hand was ice cold. She touched his wrist, gripped it. I need to eat, she whispered. Her grip tightened. Edwin felt bones grinding together. I'm eating you, Edwin. A little bit every night. I've been eating all of you. Mother ate Mary Olive. I'm eating you. That's why you won't die. Because if you die, I'll have nothing left. She leaned closer. Her breath smelled like rot, like earth, like the grave. Do you feel me? She whispered. Inside you? Do you feel me feeding? Edwin wanted to scream. Couldn't. Mercy smiled. I'll come back tomorrow night, she said. And the next night. And the next. Until you figure out how to make it stop. Then she was gone. Just gone. Edwin blinked, and he was at the kitchen table. Dressed, boots on, his wrist throbbing. He looked down. 4 bruises on top. 1 underneath. Fresh. Dark purple. Deep. Fingerprints. Small hands. Woman's hands. George found him there at dawn. Took him back to bed. Listened to his story. Saw the marks. And believed him. January 17th, 1892. Dawn. Mercy Lena Brown dies in her bed, drowning in her own lungs. 19 years old. The consumption took her in less than 3 months. From first cough to death. Faster than it took her mother. Faster than her sister Mary Olive. Like the disease was learning, getting more efficient. George Brown sits beside his daughter and watches her die. She's been unconscious for hours, breathing in shallow gasps, blood on her lips, body wasted to almost nothing. But in the final moment, Mercy's eyes open, clear, focused, aware. She looks directly at her father, opens her mouth like she wants to say something. Then nothing. George reaches out to close her eyes, presses the lids shut gently. They snap back open, just pop open like there are springs behind them. George tries again, holds them closed for a full minute. When he lets go, they open again. Pa? His remaining son stands in the doorway. Is she? She's gone, George says. But Mercy's eyes are still open, still staring at the ceiling. The undertaker arrives an hour later. His name is Samuel Pierce. He's prepared bodies for 30 years. He washes Mercy, dresses her in her Sunday clothes, arranges her hair. The whole time, her eyes stay open. Mr. Brown, Pierce says. I can't seem to close her eyes. I know. Should I sew them shut? George looks at his daughter lying on the table, eyes wide, staring at nothing. Do what you have to do. Pierce reaches for his needle and thread. Mercy's hand moves, just her fingers, a slight twitch, like she's trying to grab something. Pierce jumps back. Did you see? Muscle spasms, George says quickly. Normal? You said it's normal? Yes, of course, muscle spasms. But Pierce's hands are shaking when he resumes work. They hold the funeral that afternoon. Small gathering. The Brown family has buried too many for people to keep attending. George, his 2 surviving children, handful of neighbors out of obligation. Reverend speaks quickly. It's 14 degrees, wind cutting through coats. The Lord is my shepherd. The coffin is simple pine. They can't afford better. As they carry it to the hearse, George notices something. The coffin is making a sound. Soft, barely audible, scratching, like fingernails on wood. Did you hear? He starts to ask. Just the wood settling, the undertaker says quickly. Too quickly. They load the coffin into the hearse. The scratching continues. George can hear it the entire ride to the cemetery. Chestnut Hill Cemetery. They can't bury Mercy. The ground is frozen solid, iron hard. So they place her in the crypt. The stone vault built into the hillside. Temperature inside barely above freezing. Bodies stored there until spring thaw makes burial possible. 4 men carry the coffin inside. It's dark in the crypt. Cold. Smells like earth and stone. They slide the coffin onto the stone shelf. As they're positioning it, one of the men stops. Did it just... What? I thought I felt it move. Like something pushed from inside. You're imagining things. I'm not. Thump. All 4 men freeze. The sound came from inside the coffin, like someone kicking, like someone trying to get out. We need to leave, one man says. We should check. No, we need to leave now. They back, out of the crypt. Quickly. The undertaker locks the iron door. His hands are shaking so badly he can barely turn the key. Thump. From inside. Louder this time. Thump, thump, thump. Move, someone says. They run. Behind them, the sound continues. Thump, thump, thump. Someone trying to get out. Someone who's been buried alive. Except Mercy Brown has been dead for 6 hours. Her body is already starting to cool. So what's making that sound? January 17th, 1892. 2:47 a.m. Sarah Miller is walking home from the textile mill. 17 years old. Works the night shift. 6 days a week. 12 hours a day. It's the only way her family can survive. The road home passes directly by Chestnut Hill Cemetery. Sarah's walked this route 1,000 times, never given it a second thought. But tonight is different. Tonight there's a light in the cemetery. Not lantern light, not moonlight, something else. Pale, greenish, pulsing like a heartbeat, hovering over one of the graves. Sarah stops walking. She should keep going, should ignore it, should get home. But the light is so strange. She climbs over the low stone wall. The snow is deep, almost to her knees. She has to fight through it. The light stays ahead of her, always ahead. leading her deeper into the cemetery. Then she sees which grave it's hovering over. Mary Eliza Brown, beloved wife and mother, died December 8, 1883. George Brown's wife, dead 9 years. The earth around the headstone is wrong. The snow has melted in a perfect circle. The ground underneath is bare, and it's not frozen like the rest of the cemetery. It's soft, like it's been recently disturbed, like something has been digging or pushing up from below. Sarah takes a step closer. The light brightens, gets warmer, almost feels alive. She kneels down beside the grave. The soft earth has a crack in it, maybe 6 inches wide, running from the headstone down into darkness. And something is moving in that crack. Sarah leans closer. She can see it now. In the pulsing light, a hand, bone white, female, emerging from the crack, fingers spread, reaching upward, reaching for her. Sarah tries to back away. Too late. The hand shoots out and grabs her ankle. The grip is cold, ice cold, like putting her ankle in frozen water, and strong. Sarah screams, tries to pull away. The hand holds on. She can feel the fingers digging into her flesh, can feel nails or claws breaking skin. Sarah falls backward in the snow, kicks, thrashes. The hand won't let go. She looks down at it. The hand is attached to an arm now, a thin, pale arm extending from the crack in the earth. Skin like paper, bones visible underneath, and it's pulling her down. Sarah grabs a headstone, holds on, kicks at the hand with her free foot. Her boot connects. There's a wet crack, like breaking a stick underwater. The hand releases. Sarah scrambles backward, gets to her feet, runs. She doesn't look back, doesn't see the hand slowly withdraw into the earth, doesn't see the crack seal itself back up, doesn't see the light fade and disappear. She just runs. They find Sarah 3 hours later. She made it half a mile from the cemetery before collapsing in the snow. Hypothermia, frostbite on her fingers and toes. And her ankle, the ankle is bruised black, deep purple fingerprints. 4 on top, 1 underneath where a thumb would grip. The skin is broken, 4 crescent-shaped cuts where fingernails dug in. They carry Sarah home, put her to bed. Call the doctor. Dr. Metcalf examines the ankle. "What did this?" he asks. She keeps saying someone grabbed her, Sarah's mother says. Says a hand came out of the ground at the cemetery. Delirium, Metcalf says. The cold can cause hallucinations. He bandages the ankle, prescribes rest, but he's troubled. Those fingerprints are real. The cuts are real. Something grabbed this girl. Sarah sleeps for 2 days. When she wakes, she's incoherent. Keeps saying she's awake over and over. "Who's awake?" her mother asks. "The dead woman, in the ground. She's awake and she's hungry and she's so cold." "You had a nightmare." "She touched me. I can still feel her. On my ankle. She's still holding on." Sarah looks down at her bandaged ankle. She won't let go. Day 3, Sarah develops a cough. Dry, persistent, coming from deep in the chest. Dr. Metcalf recognizes that cough. Consumption. But that's impossible. You don't develop consumption from being grabbed in a cemetery. You don't develop consumption in 3 days. Yet here's Sarah, coughing, getting worse by the hour. By week 2, she's coughing blood. By week 4, she's bedridden. By week 6, she's dying. "I can still feel her hand," Sarah tells Metcalf. "Every day, every night. Like she's still gripping me, still holding on." She looks at him with hollow eyes. "She's feeding on me, doctor. I can feel it. Something's draining out and she's drinking it." "That's the fever talking." "It's not fever. I'm not delirious. Something in that cemetery is using me to stay alive." She coughs blood into a cloth. And it's going to kill me. December 8th, 1883. Mary Eliza Brown dies of consumption at age 44. This is where it starts. She's been sick for 18 months. The disease moved slowly in her. Cough, weight loss, fatigue, blood. Her family watched her waste away. By the end, Mary Eliza was barely conscious, consumed by fever, hallucinating. But in her final hour, she said something to her daughter, Mary Olive. Something Mary Olive never told anyone. She said, "Don't let them bury me." Mary Olive held her mother's hand. "Mama, you're going to be fine. Don't let them bury me. Please, I don't want to be in the cold dark. Please don't put me in the ground. Mama, promise me." "I promise," Mary Olive lied. Because what else could she say? Eliza died moments later. They buried her at Chestnut Hill Cemetery 3 days later. The ground was already frozen. Had to build fires on the earth just to soften it enough to dig. The grave was shallow, only 4 feet deep. The diggers couldn't go deeper. "It'll do until spring," they said. "We'll dig deeper when the ground thaws." But they never did. Mary Eliza Brown stayed in her shallow grave. 4 feet of earth between her and the surface. 4 feet between her and the air. 4 feet between her and the world she'd begged not to leave. 7 months later, Mary Olive started coughing. The eldest daughter. 17. Healthy. Strong. The cough started the night of her mother's birthday. July 8th, 1884. Mary Olive woke up unable to breathe, like something was sitting on her chest. She gasped, clawed at her throat, finally got air. Then the cough started. By morning, she was coughing blood. "I broke my promise," Mary Olive told her father. "What promise?" "Mama made me promise not to let them bury her. I promised, and I let them bury her anyway." "That's not—" "This is punishment," Mary Olive said. "She's angry. She's coming for me. Your mother is dead." "No," Mary Olive said. "No, she's not. I can feel her every night, standing beside my bed, watching me. So cold, so angry." George thought his daughter was delirious, until the night he checked on Mary Olive and saw the handprints on her sheets. Wet handprints. On the pillow beside her head, like someone with wet hands had been touching her face. But the handprints were cold, ice cold, and they smelled like earth. Mary Olive died in January 1884, 6 months from first cough to death, faster than her mother, like something had learned from the first time. On her deathbed, Mary Olive grabbed her father's hand. "Bury me deep," she whispered. "Deeper than Mama. Please, I don't want to be able to reach the surface." "You're not going to die. Promise me." George promised. But when they buried Mary Olive, the ground was frozen again. They could only dig 4 feet. Same as her mother. 2 brown women, 4 feet under, 4 feet from the surface. Close enough to hear the living walking above. Close enough to smell the air. Close enough to reach. March 17th, 1892. 10 a.m. We return to where we started. But now you understand why. The gravediggers work quickly. They've done this before in other towns, other families, other suspected vampires. Mary Eliza's coffin comes up first, 9 years in the ground. Dr. Metcalf opens it. Bones, just bones. Some dried tissue, the smell of old earth. Normal, expected, at rest. Relief washes through the crowd. Mary Olive next. 8 years dead. Same. Skeleton. Scraps of fabric. Clearly deceased. Clearly done taking. 2 down. 2 normal bodies. Maybe this whole thing is hysteria. Maybe Sarah Miller's decline is just virulent tuberculosis. Maybe Edwin's cold temperature is a medical anomaly. Maybe there's no vampire. Maybe Mercy Brown is just a dead girl. But then Dr. Metcalf walks to the crypt and sees the scratches on the iron door, fresh gouges in the metal. From the inside, they open the crypt. The smell hits first, sweet, wrong, covering something worse. Mercy's coffin sits on the stone shelf. The lid is cracked, not broken, not shattered, just cracked. Like sustained pressure from the inside, finely splintered the wood. "Get it out!" 4 men drag it into the light. 100 witnesses crowd around. The gravediggers position crowbars. Look at Dr. Metcalf. He nods. They pry. The lid splinters. Comes free. And there is Mercy Brown. 2 months dead. She looks asleep. Skin still has color, hair arranged, dress intact. But her position, oh God, her position. They buried her on her back, hands folded over her chest. She's on her side now. Face toward where the lid was, arms extended, fingers curved like claws, like she was trying to push the lid open, like she was trying to get out. George Brown makes a sound, somewhere between a sob and a scream. Dr. Metcalf forces himself to approach. He examines the body clinically, professionally, checks the skin, still pliable, too pliable, checks the abdomen, some bloating, but not enough. Not nearly enough for 2 months of decomposition. Then he sees her hands. The fingernails are broken, torn, some completely gone, and underneath, blood, fresh, liquid, red. She was trying to claw her way out, someone whispers. Metcalf lifts one of Mercy's hands. The fingernails that remain are caked with wood splinters, from the coffin lid, from scratching, from trying to escape. "Doctor," William Rose says quietly. Her mouth. Metcalf looks. Mercy's lips are parted slightly. There's something dark at the corners. Dried, crusted. Blood, like she's been feeding. "Check the heart," Rose says. Dr. Metcalf picks up the bone saw. His hands are steady. He's done this before. Autopsies, examinations. But never on a girl he delivered. Never on someone he watched grow up. He makes the first cut. The tissue is soft, like cutting into someone dead hours, not months. He continues. Opens the chest cavity. Has to crack the sternum. The sound makes people in the crowd turn away. And there, Mercy Brown's heart. It's full, swollen, engorged, dark blood filling every chamber. Blood that should have drained, should have settled, should have congealed into dry tissue, but hasn't. Metcalf reaches in. The heart is warm, not body temperature, but warm. Warmer than the air, warmer than the frozen ground. He lifts it out with both hands. The crowd gasps, because the heart is moving, not beating, not pumping, but shifting, pulsing, like something inside is still active, still trying to function. Metcalf holds it up, feels it against his palms, and then it pulses, once, strong, clear, unmistakable, a heartbeat. Metcalf's hands spasm. He drops it. The heart hits the ground with a wet sound, bounces once, and beats again. Everyone sees it. 100 witnesses. They see Mercy Brown's heart lying on the frozen ground, and they see it beat. And that brings us back to the fire, to 3 hours of burning, to tissue that won't become ash, to flames that turn blue, to air that gets colder, to Dr. Metcalf grinding a girl's heart to paste and carrying it upstairs to her dying brother, to Edwin screaming when he tastes his sister's ashes, to him whispering she's gone with tears streaming down his face. Now you know why. Now you understand what they found. Now you know what was in that grave. May 2nd, 1892. Edwin Brown dies. The consumption finally kills him, takes him quietly, peacefully. In those final 7 weeks after drinking the ashes, Edwin is calm. No more visits. No more cold skin. No more feeling drained. She let go, he tells his father, the night before he dies. When I drank her heart, she finally let go of me. Sarah Miller dies 3 days after the exhumation. But before she dies, she tells her mother, "The hand is gone. I can't feel it anymore." She's not holding on. The crying from the cemetery stops March 17th, the night they burn the heart. It never starts again. Dr. Metcalf's journal, final entry, May 15th, 1892. I burned a girl's heart. Mercy Brown's heart was full of blood 90 days after burial. Her fingernails were broken from scratching her coffin lid. Her position had changed. She had moved inside that sealed coffin, trying to escape. When we burned her heart, something in the crypt exhaled, like a breath held for 2 months finally released. Science demands I find a rational explanation. Cold preservation, delayed decomposition, muscle spasms, gas buildup. But science cannot explain why I felt that heart pulse. Science cannot explain Edwin's 6-week temperature of 94 degrees. Science cannot explain Sarah's 6-week decline when the disease takes months. Science cannot explain the scratches on the iron door. Science cannot explain the crying that stopped the moment we destroyed the heart. I am a man of science. But I know what I experienced. Something was keeping Mercy Brown from rest. Something was using her body. Something was feeding on her family. And when we destroyed her heart, it stopped. The Browns are free now. Edwin died peacefully. Sarah died peacefully. But I am not free. Because late at night, when I'm alone in the dark, I still feel it. That pulse against my palm. Once, just once. Like a heartbeat. Like something reminding me it was real. God forgive me for what I did. God forgive me for what I found. Present day. Chestnut Hill Cemetery. Mercy Brown's grave. Simple headstone. Weathered, old. People visit. Leave flowers, coins, notes. Some leave vampire trinkets, plastic, fangs, toy bats. But if you visit in winter, if you visit when the snow is deep and the air is cold, and if you go to the crypt where they found her, you can still see the scratches on the iron door. The cemetery filed them down decades ago, tried to smooth them away, tried to erase them, but they come back every winter. Fresh gouges in the metal, 4 parallel lines, like fingernails, from the inside. Mercy Brown died January 17th, 1892. Her heart was burned March 17th, 1892. The crying stopped that day. It has never started again. Dr. Harold Metcalf's private journal was discovered in 2001. He never practiced medicine after 1892. He died in 1915. His last words, "Tell Mercy I'm sorry." The scratches on the crypt door are still there. They return every winter. No one knows why. If this story disturbed you, subscribe.